All right, ladies and gentlemen, Tulsi Kratz, thank you for tuning in. I'm Dave, and this is Save America, Vote Tulsi Gabbard. A couple of quick housekeeping things here, and I hate to even bring this in because it's the world we live in. So I gave out my email address so people could donate to my channel. And I thought, hey, this is a good idea. People are saying, please put the information out there. Now, when you put your information out there, and this isn't one of my primary emails, but it's an email that's attached to PayPal. So if you wanted to give a donation, which somebody actually gave a very generous donation, and I was completely blown away. It was unexpected, and it almost makes up for the demonetization, which happens pretty much on a daily basis. And I'm not complaining because it's happening to everybody. It's happening to people who, yes, can speak the English language better than me, including Kim Iverson and Jimmy Dore and all of these people who are really good at what they do, whereas I'm more or less a hack, compared to them. I run a music channel, and I do stream of consciousness, and a lot of times I forget where I am, and I wander, but I'm not reading a teleprompter. I'm just speaking from the heart. So I'm getting some really valuable criticism over there. Not. If you've got something negative to say, can you just keep it to yourself or watch a different channel and solve my problem rather than be inundated in my email with all kinds of suggestions as to what I'm supposed to do? You don't have to watch the channel. Of course, your email has now been deemed spam, which it is. It's human spam, and it needs to take a hike. Okay, I've got more important things to do. I have a family. I have kids. I have stuff that I need to do, and I do this because I care about our country, and I believe Tulsi Gabbard is the best presidential candidate in my lifetime, and that's it. I don't have any other reason to do this. I am not a professional journalist. I'm a guy who is just doing the best I can with life, and I realized that the military-industrial complex is pretty much running our government and taking most of our wealth and doing wealth redistribution in other countries that don't need the money. I mean, we can go on and on about this stuff, but I want to talk about Tulsi Gabbard here briefly because it is July 4th. So let's think about what real patriotism looks like on July 4th. This obviously is an email that is sent out to all Tulsi supporters, and yes, it's personally addressed to me because they have tools that can find out who you are once you subscribe, and they get your first name, so it's personal. So this 4th of July, let's take patriotism back. Since 9/11, I've watched as patriotism was used as an excuse for disastrous regime change wars and surveillance of the American people, as a euphemism for bigotry, and as a cover for McCarthyist hysteria and the lead up to a new Cold War and new nuclear arms race. Okay, folks, this is very important for you libertarians out there, and I tend to be a libertarian on most things, and I don't have a problem with you doing what you want to do. But this whole notion of a surveillance state isn't really talked about by any other candidates. And that should bother people. It hasn't changed. Bush really ramped it up, and obviously Obama ramped it up even more, and Trump, I believe, has kept it in place. So if you like the surveillance state, you should vote for either Joe Biden, Donald Trump, or Kamala Harris, or our CIA guy there, Mayor Pete. That's not what patriotism is, and it infuriates me. Patriotism is the reason I and so many of my fellow service members put our lives on the line to defend our country. Patriotism is not about symbols or fake outrage. It's about love, real active love. You know that a lot of people have been critical of the fact that Tulsi Gabbard talks about love in this campaign. They find it kind of creepy and weird and awkward. I find it like the best thing right now for our country. It's just so divided, and people are freaking out over the littlest things, and they're calling each other hideous things when they don't even know who that person is. And that includes yours truly. Not that I'm anybody special, but it's just crazy how you don't know who I am, but yet you're judging me based on maybe words that I say. There's more to a person than just words, people. So you really need to get to know somebody, know their heart. And again, one of the reasons I support Tulsi is because she seems to have a real heart for people, for the country. She talks about the beauty of the country. She says, I love our people, drawn from every corner of the planet, every creed, every color, pulled by a promise of a better life, a new beginning, a recognition, that we are all equal in the eyes of God. Which God? This is just going to cause chaos in the typical liberal precincts where people cannot use this word because it's too divisive. You cannot mention God. And I don't really even care which God you're talking about, but you can't even mention it. I love our heritage, the tradition of representative democracy embodied in our indigenous communities. And she talks here about women's suffrage, labor rights, very important, civil rights, and environmental justice. You know, I used to be kind of a skeptic on climate change. June was the hottest month ever recorded on planet Earth. Hello, we need to do something. I don't know what we need to do, but we need to do something, and we need to do it quickly. Most of all, I love our freedom, the freedom endowed by our Creator, the freedom that is enshrined in our Constitution, and our Bill of Rights. And she actually talks about this, and this is going to scare some people, because look at number 3. Oh no, it's the right to bear arms. Tulsi. Now this is why Tulsi is meeting all kinds of resistance from like the TYT people. You know, organizations like, I don't know, like the Huffington Post, where they have this tribal nature and this knee-jerk reaction to every issue. But let's look at these. Freedom of speech in the press. Freedom of religion. Again, that can be a little gnarly too, because some people want to be free from religion, and I think she's fine with that as well. But these are big ticket items here. Freedom from unreasonable search and seizure. Could be a libertarian again. The right to a fair and public trial. Freedom from cruel and unusual punishment, like torture. It's easy to take our freedoms for granted until they get taken away. Until you see women who are not free to move outside of their own homes without a male chaperone. Until you see children who are not free to play without the threat of landmines in their backyard. See, Tulsi covers everybody. She's an equal opportunity protector. And whether this is your issue here, or your freedom to worship, or your freedom to speak in public the truth, that's why she was so vocal supporting Julian Assange and Edward Snowden. Free to love who you want to love, for your, the people who advocate for gay rights. That's what she's talking about there. Freedom is a real and precious thing. It is alive in our streets, in our schools, in our houses of worship, and we must protect it. Now, she's really talking a lot about worship, so she must be some stealth right-wing conservative Christian, right? No, she's Hindu, actually. And she's been getting a lot of blowback on that too. I mean, this Modi guy, who I just keep hearing his name thrown out there all the time, and she's been pretty clear on who she has taken allegiance to. You can watch the town hall or the event where clearly there's a plant in the audience who gets up and starts lecturing her on who she supposedly takes an allegiance to. I'm pretty confident that she's taken an oath to the United States Constitution, and she's serving in her district. She's serving her constituents and this country in the process. So this July 4th, let's celebrate by remembering why we love our country and commit to standing up to protect our freedoms, to live, think, worship, and love in peace. Okay? So this is a nice little email that goes out to supporters, but it really embodies who Tulsi is and what this is about. And this is a unique presidential candidate because she is a unique combination of all things. And she's conservative in some ways, believe it or not. I'm looking at this and I'm looking at some conservatism here. But she's also very progressive on big ticket issues. And I think she would be the perfect president right now. The way this country is so polarized, I don't think she would be doing a July 4th celebration as a way to promote her own agenda or launch her campaign for president. I don't think that would be happening the way it's going to happen today. So, I know a lot of people spend time with their families today, and you probably really should do that. You should also reflect on what real patriotism is. If you're going to a fireworks display, just recognize that freedom does come at a cost, but don't be, brainwashed or taken in by this idea that in order to be free, we always need to be fighting in a war. Because we don't. We don't need to be fighting in a war. And I think a lot of Americans misplace that idea, and they really can't differentiate between war and peace and what it means to truly be free. Freedom, too, I think, has a lot to do with understanding that the government doesn't give us our rights. We have our own rights. And the government fighting all these wars not in our interest, and we are not beseeching the government to go overseas and start trouble with Iran or whatever country that we're looking to fight. We're not doing this. So this is why our government right now is broken, and it doesn't represent who we are. So in any event, I wanted to just talk briefly about this. Again, if you're unhappy with what I'm doing, then it's really simple. You don't have to watch. There are lots of great people on YouTube that you can spend time with. I'm just doing my small little part here to try to help Tulsi Gabbard get more visibility. And I'm not working for her campaign. I'm not being funded by Tulsi. If I was being funded by Tulsi, I really wouldn't care if videos were being demonetized. So, again, my email is up. Please don't abuse that email. If further abuse happens, then I'm just gonna have to shut it down or find another way. There is Patreon, which is also affiliated with my music channel, and that's a monthly thing, but you can do like $1 a month, and obviously you can quit at any time. So there you go, a couple of other options. But aloha on this July 4th, and spend some time with the people who you love, and we'll talk soon.